Hello and welcome to our Retire Early lifestyle. Hope everyone is well today. Today we're going to talk about 5 countries that are going through some issues, and we just want to give our readers a heads up for their own benefit. That way you can be ahead of the game and take the necessary precautions to make sure you stay safe, happy, and free while you live abroad as an expat. Let's start with number 1, Belize. Is there anyone traveling to or moving to Belize? Belize is a popular tourist destination for Americans. There is a new travel warning for Belize in 2025 because of high crime, including violence against tourists. The travel advisory is due to high levels of crime, including violent incidents in tourist areas. The advisory specifically designates Belize City's south side as a level 3 area, recommending travelers reconsider visits there due to gang-related violence. The advisory highlights issues such as sexual assault, home invasion, armed robberies, and murder, noting that these crimes occur even during the day. Belize has always been a bit sketchy with high crime against foreigners. Now they're finding these 3 U.S. citizens that have been found dead in their resort hotel, and officials are seeking answers. 3 American women from Massachusetts were recently found dead in their suite. They were college girls, probably on spring break. The reports state the investigation is ongoing and they're trying to figure out what happened to these young women. Here we go, women traveling alone. Unfortunately, women, even in pairs and in trios, have been murdered in foreign countries abroad. For those that hope in traveling with 2 or 3 as a safety net, this report should make you think. It is so tragic. We're heartbroken for the parents. We'll put the link below in the description. Number 2, Mexico. There are 2 things we want to share about Mexico right now. Tourists need more than a passport to enter Mexico as of March 2025. Mexico is now enforcing mandatory documentation that all American tourists must show when they enter Mexico. It's a requirement. You need to have the document, which does require a lot of contact information filled out, and then you print it before you go to Mexico. Hand it in when you show them your passport because they're going to want to see it. It's enforced. Many people have been complaining that the lines are very long and move very slowly because most tourists didn't know they needed this new documentation at the border. You can fill out the document online, however. The new rule does not apply to citizens and foreign residents with residency cards. To find out more, we'll just put the link below in the description of this video. The second thing about Mexico is the new travel warnings for U.S. citizens. I wouldn't take these travel warnings lightly either. U.S. citizens should exercise caution in the downtown areas of popular spring break spots. This includes Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and Tulum, especially after dark. Now, I wouldn't take these travel warnings lightly. Our recommendation this year is to go to Texas or Florida. There have been several recent crime incidents happening in Mexico that would make your skin crawl. Now let's go on to our next country we're watching for you, and we're going to be giving you a much needed update on these ones. Portugal. Remember when crime was very low in Portugal? Ah, yes, that was before the bombardment of expats. Now we have to take the word very out of the equation and just say low crime, because in Portugal and Spain, crime has gone up. It's nothing new. Wherever expats move to in large numbers, the petty crime spike. Portugal has always been reported by the travel and retire abroad media as the safest country in Europe. Just a quick warning to make people aware, if we are too complacent about crime, we are easier to be victimized by petty thievery because we let our guard down, thinking, oh, it's okay. We don't keep an eye on our things, and there goes our cell phone or purse snatched away by a thief in a touristy sector of Lisbon or Porto. It is more common than you think in these supposed low-crime countries. The most common type of crime in Portugal is theft, particularly pickpocketing and bag snatching. Also, when you're walking around in Portugal with your phone, they're saying that in cities like Lisbon and Porto, you do have to be on your guard for pickpockets and phone thieves, and you generally can't have your face in your phone either and walking around because they'll just grab it from you. When we first moved to Ecuador, Cuenca was considered a low-crime city too. But as we all know, some crimes do not get reported, and crime does change. It does not stay the same, and sometimes with the onslaught of expats, thievery crimes become more prevalent. After just a couple of years living in Cuenca, the thievery graduated to snatch and runs and even home invasions, and even then, Cuenca, by all accounts, was reported by the Retire Abroad media as quite safe, and still is reported as safe by the Retire Abroad media. Panama went through the same thing, where the actual crime spike reporting is lagging what the Rams are saying. Coincidence? In Boquete, Panama, for example, it got so bad, the crime, that expats started to flee the area. So, is Portugal still the safest country in Europe? According to most reports, Portugal is in the top 10 safest countries in Europe, but this reporting is very misleading, and here's why. What I'm about to show our dear viewers will put things into perspective for you, and it will make you a better informed person. Only on this channel will you be provided with this kind of detailed and important information so you can make better informed decisions about your travels abroad. People love to brag about how much safer Portugal is than the United States. Well, duh, I hope so. The U.S. has 340 million people compared to 10 million in Portugal, and that's why I'm sharing these graphs with you today so you can see a different perspective instead of the same old copy and paste you get from the media and vlogger gang. You don't have to be a math wizard to know that if there are more people in a population, there will also be more bad apples in that population, right? So then comparing 340 million people to 10 million people is not an accurate way to find out if a country is safe or not. That's silly. So if you want to compare crime rates and find out the truth of the matter about crime, you compare it with another city of about the same size and look at the types of crimes in both cities. This provides us with a more meaningful view because it's not just someone sharing how safe a country is because that's what the narrative is for that year. When you compare a city to city, it will show you how safe a country or city really is. We're going to share the crime rates of cities in Portugal to cities in the U.S. of comparable size, give or take a few 100,000. Here we go. We hope you're sitting down for this. Now, real quick, before you wince, you should know that Portugal has been promoted as the new California. And remember, we're doing our best to find similar cities of similar sizes. We're not trying to match up every single thing about the cities equally. Let's start with the popular expat city, Porto, Portugal, and a city in the USA, Irvine, California. Now, California is considered dangerous to everyone. Did you know that? But look, as of the 2020 census, Irvine, California has a population of approximately 307,670. Porto has a population of 214,000. Irvine actually has 100,000 more population, and so that could mean it even has more bad apples than Porto, wouldn't it? But the only thing that is really higher in Irvine is people saying crime is increasing in the past 3 years. Irvine probably should get an award for world peace, just like Portugal keeps getting year after year. Go ahead and look at these graphs. I mean, look at this. And what is really interesting is the stat on worries being robbed or mugged, and people feel safer in Irvine, California than in Porto. So the crime is lower. Less people are getting mugged and robbed in Irvine, California than Porto. People are saying they feel less afraid. But this can't be. Isn't the U.S. dangerous? Statistics by the people don't lie, and it is very telling. Okay, moving on to our next state in the U.S. Are we ready? Plano, Texas, with a population of, as of 2024, 291,450. Wow, it's really growing too. And remember, Porto's population is only 214,000. So here we are, Plano and Porto compared. Oh my, what is going on? Plano, with 80,000 more population, is safer than Porto? It's either that or people are lying. Which is it? Not only that, but it's right outside of the big city Dallas-Fort Worth, which is a high crime area, so it looks like even in the USA it's possible to just scoot over a bit and avoid the big crime and be actually safer than these highly promoted darling world cities. I mean, here we are. We're not having to go way out in the boonies to get this figure right here in the United States of America. Isn't that something? I like looking at the worries being mugged or robbed figure because that's a popular crime abroad. And also looking at the assaults, worries being assaulted is even lower in Plano, Texas than it is in Porto. So this is very telling. And then look at worries walking alone during the day and at night. People feel safer in Texas, USA than in Porto, Portugal. And here's Frisco. Oh my, Texas, USA compared to Porto, Portugal. Frisco has a population of 200,509. Remember, Porto has a population of 214,000. So make sure you look at the worries about being mugged or robbed category, because that's the one that happens a lot abroad, and so does the worries about getting attacked. Those are the ones, and plus people, wanting to be able to walk alone at night. Those are the three you really want to look at. And wow, look at this. This is absolutely incredible. And look at the walking alone and at night here in Frisco, Texas versus Porto. Unbelievable. Safety, walking alone during the daylight, is very high score. 96.17% of the people feel safe. We'll do a couple more, moving on to the East Coast where Cary, North Carolina is located. We don't want to just stick in one area of the United States because there's safe states all over the United States. So here is Cary, North Carolina, much safer than Porto. So we think Irvine, Plano, Frisco, and Cary should all get the Safest Cities Award, don't you? But there's more safe cities in the U.S. So next time someone tells you that the USA is dangerous or more dangerous than Portugal, give them the facts. The truth is, some states are dangerous, but not all of America is dangerous. To be fair, sure, Atlanta, Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore, they're very unsafe cities. But what do they all have in common that keeps them so unsafe? Can you figure it out? There are plenty of USA cities to either match or outperform these foreign darling cities in this category. It appears that it makes a comfy little narrative to always compare back to the USA and say the opposite. So let's move on to Lisbon, Portugal, which sees more crime and is 3 times as populated. As of 2024, the population of Lisbon was around 3 million, including the surrounding metropolitan area, but the city itself has about 570,000 people. So this one is really hard to believe, but here's the graph for Thousand Oaks, California. A beautiful, beautiful area in California with a population of 840,000. And it's just an outlying area of Los Angeles. And here it is compared to Lisbon. I told you, you better be sitting down. Worries being mugged or robbed is so low compared to Lisbon. It's unbelievable. Worries about being attacked is also way lower than Lisbon, Portugal, the safest city in Europe. And here again is the safety for walking alone during the day and at night. Look at this. In Thousand Oaks, 94.85, and in Lisbon, it's 85.49. So people feel safer walking around in Thousand Oaks, California during the day and night than they do in Lisbon, Portugal. All right, moving on to the next city. It's called Pembroke Pines, Florida, which is just on the outskirts of Miami. Now, Pembroke Pines has a population of about 170,000. However, Miami is 6.8 million people, but it's only 20 miles away. Hope you're sitting down. I'm comparing it with both Lisbon and also Porto. Here's Pembroke Pines compared to Lisbon. Look at the worries being mugged or robbed or attacked categories. Very telling. Much, much lower in Pembroke Pines, Florida. Much, half. It's like half than what it is in Lisbon, okay? And here's Pembroke Pines, Florida, compared with Porto, about the same size of population. And for those that aren't looking to compare to California in particular, let's throw in Carmel, Indiana, compared with Lisbon, Portugal. Stop the video, please, at any time to study these graphs. I could go on and on, but this takes so much research. Of course, there's way less crime in Carmel, Indiana, with about the same population as Lisbon. Here it is. Carmel, Indiana with Lisbon. Look at the worries being mugged or robbed. It's almost half. Look at worries about being attacked. Wow, it's very low in Carmel, Indiana. Looks like several cities in the USA are safer than Lisbon or Porto, and many have the same amount of crime as Lisbon or Porto. This puts things into a more realistic perspective, don't you think? Instead of getting the Simon Says Portugal is very safe narrative, repeat after me, we'll get down to the bottom of it with graphs to show you what it actually looks like. We're all being deceived by retire abroad media and vlogger narrative. While Portugal may be safe, it's not as safe as we've been told, and it looks like crime is up. Further study is showing that criminality has risen in Portugal. Doesn't surprise us one bit. This is what happened. We've shared this factual phenomenon many times on this channel and in this crime against foreigners video. Criminality in Portugal soars to highest level in 10 years. Attacks with knives take place every day, and there have been various episodes recently in which shots are fired from passing vehicles into groups that have gathered for a night out. None of this is normal, much less in a country of gentle habits, but which are on the way out, says Santos. Drug trafficking is possibly the principal problem, but there are others like the breakdown of family values, as violence in the schools has shown. So they are reporting more crime in Portugal because of disintegrating family values and drug trafficking. Where have we heard that before? Moving on to number 4, Spain. Spain has seen several horrific crimes against expats in recent years. These crimes happened about 8 months ago, and unfortunately, not all crimes are reported against expats because they don't want it to get out to the public. British expat 35 is found in his house in Spain's Andalusia. British expat for walking his dog near neighbor's home in southern Spain. Cowboy mechanic accused of swindling British expats out of thousands of euros. He eventually had to quit Spain because he had to stop scamming people. They were finding out about him. Now, none of these kind of crimes used to happen to the expats until Spain began having a surge in foreigners and the locals became displaced from the golden visa schemes. When locals' livelihood gets uprooted, yes, the crimes spike. That's what happens. Some are crimes of resentment, others are of hatred. We're seeing a lot of spite and anger from the Europeans lately, so they're angry. Wherever expats live in large numbers, such as in expat enclaves or gated communities, you can usually count on an uptick of home invasions and robberies, which is exactly what's happening here in Spain.
They don't realize that they're part of this bubble-making ram vicious cycle scenario where the crime rates will eventually get out of control. And Portugal is not immune. And no place has been immune. If you look at the history, every single place that has happened. Now, granted, some of these places had a certain level of crime already before these ram cycles started, but even so, regardless of that idea, the crime rates always increase, get out of control, and spike. And the target is always the foreigner.
Too many people here living on $500 a month, and then after a while, resentment, criminals. I think a lot of these crimes are resentment. But if you look at the way that these criminals are acting violently.
Because Vilcabamba was extremely peaceful, was just a tiny little village of just peace-loving and peace-abiding locals. And then after the RAM cycle got to it, the crime wave with home invasions and just spiking and out of control and that kind of thing.
Police warn British expats in Spain after huge wave of robberies hits Costa Blanca. The mayor conducted a meeting to warn the residents about the incidents. Expats living in 3 Costa Blanca municipalities have been warned by the police to stay cautious after observing a rise in home robberies over the last few weeks. These areas house a large number of British expat residents. That's the clue. These areas house a large number of British expats. And that's why they're having their homes invaded by robbers. At least they're warning the foreigners about it, which is a good thing. So we're just sharing this information about crime in Spain so you won't go there and remain complacent about crime. There's crime, so you should remain aware of your surroundings, even in Spain. The bottom line is, we can't always go by what the retire abroad media is touting, even if it's almost all of the media and vloggers. There is just too much wash, rinse, and repeat narrative out there. Moving on to our last one, number 5, all countries. Yes, you heard that right, all countries. We just want to lightly suggest to people before they move abroad to make sure that the country they decide to move to matches with their lifestyle and way of life. And if you have special circumstances like needing a certain type of weather or climate for your health, it is also very important and should be taken into account. More and more I'm reading about American couples that have moved abroad to places like France and Spain, and they didn't last 1 year. And the reason usually is because it wasn't what they expected. And basically, really, they just got homesick for everything back home. And so we just want to remind people to go where it feels right for you and matches your lifestyle, and not where everyone else is moving to. Avoiding crowds and fads should start to look like a bit of old wisdom by now, right? So that is all we have for you today. We hope this finds you all well and safe. Take care, and bye-bye.